curtail. Curtail is to reduce in quantity, means to refrain from doing that. See what the irony is, in order to preserve everyone's freedom, we need to curtail everyone's freedom. What is the boundary of a personal liberty? That means everybody is free to do anything, but it is only the personal liberty. Something that is not authentic, something that is not original, so that is called as banal or banality. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shalini, Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today we are here to understand one of the essays prescribed by University of MYSURU for 2nd Sem B.B.A. We are going to understand about On the Rule of the Road today. What is there in today's session? It is very interesting actually. We are going to understand about the author first, then we'll move on to the new words. So if we learn the new words, essay reading will be very easy. So we are going to understand the new words first, then there is a theme to understand today, then we'll move on to the summary of the essay. So why delay? Let us begin to learn about the author first. So he is the author, that is A.G. Gardiner. So he was a very famous author. He has written lot of essays. He is an American author. He was actually a journalist also. He worked as an editor too, and he was an author too. Fine. So he has written lot of essays, he has written short stories. His short stories and essays are actually very famous. So one such essay is this On the Rule of the Road, which has a very wonderful message for people. He used to write in the pen name Alpha of the Plow. So this was his pen name. He always used to use it whenever he wanted to write some essays or novels. So most of the essays is actually written in this pen name. So he was also the chairman of Anti-Sweating League. So this sounds little different, isn't it? Anti-Sweating League. So what is it? He was an advocate. He actually advocated for the minimum wage industry. So people were working as minimum wage workers there in some industries, and there he advocated, that is he argued, he campaigned for that minimum wages to those workers in that industry, and he made sure they get their minimum wages. So that is nothing but this Anti-Sweating League. That means they have to be paid for their sweat, how much effort they put, no? So for that they have to be paid properly. So that is what his campaign was all about. So that is nothing but this Anti-Sweating League. So he has contributed a lot to all the different sections of the society. So he is A.G. Gardiner. His essays are wonderful. They are sarcastic, at the same time they are funny too. They are not too very funny, it's not very comical, but they have a glimpse of that comical element. That glimpse of humor is there in his essays. So make sure you read at least 5 to 6 essays so that you will get the essence of that humor what he uses in his essays. So let us move on to the new words that are there in this essay. To begin with, it is peril. Peril is nothing but danger. So he uses it when he is talking about an old lady who is walking in the road. So he is talking about the danger that she is posing to the road or the traffic there. Next we have this anarchy. Anarchy. So these words, I'll not tell you where it is used, but when we come across there in the essay, you'll be able to understand it in a better way. Anarchy you already know, like when you hear that word only, you get a feel that it is something related to kings or something like that. So this anarchy is actually a state of disorder. Means there is no proper controlling system. Maybe it can be the absence of a government, or maybe it can be an absence of the king or any ruling authority. So anarchy is that. So if there is no king, if there is no proper rule, how do you feel? So you can see Sri Lanka is actually facing such an anarchy, isn't it? So there is nothing proper over there. Everybody is into their own world. They can do whatever they want, isn't it? So that way it is happening. So that is called as anarchy. Sri Lanka may not be the best example, but it can be an example for this anarchy. Then we have the next word, that is curtail. Curtail is to reduce in quantity, means to refrain from doing that. Curtailing means you reduce doing it. Fine. So to reduce in quantity, that is the actual meaning. Then tyranny. Tyranny is more or less similar to anarchy, but here it also means cruel. Fine. So what Sri Lanka is experiencing is actually tyranny. So that cruelty or unreasonable, there is no proper reason for whatever people are doing. So whatever somebody is doing, there is no proper reason for that. You feel, oh, this is so stupid, this shouldn't have been done or something like that. So that way you start feeling, that is called as tyranny. Then insolence. Insolence is the rude and disrespectful behavior. Somebody is insolent means that person is not respecting you. That person is not courteous enough to talk to you or to behave with you. So that is called as insolence. Fine. So you cannot call children as insolents, but you can call elders who are not behaving properly as insolents. Fine. Insolent, ts you have to use, so that we are talking about the people who are expressing this insolence. Fine. Then we have maelstrom. You pronounce it as maelstrom. So this is a situation or maybe a state of confused movement, something which is haphazard, the movement which is haphazard. So that is called as maelstrom. You can experience this maelstrom when all of a sudden the traffic light goes off. You're waiting for the traffic signal to be cleared, and that time all of a sudden the traffic light goes off, and then everybody starts coming from all the sides. So when the traffic light is off, you also start going from this side, people start coming from the other side, from the left side, maybe all four sides, if at all there are four roads. So that movement, that haphazard movement is called as maelstrom. That was just an example. It need not have to be with traffic only. It can be with other movements also, maybe with animals, maybe with the crowd or anything like that. In this essay, we talk about this maelstrom, that is the movement of traffic. So I gave you that example here. Next is trombone. Trombone is actually a large white brass instrument. So you have this instrument like this, okay? So you blow it and you have it like this, and you have some instrument like this to hold and blow, right? So this is called as trombone. So trombone is a large brass instrument which makes lot of sound, okay? Something like a trumpet, fine? Trumpet, you just hold it and blow it, but trombone is something different. There is a picture in the next slide. I'll show you that. So here at last we have this banality. What is banality? Something that lacks originality or freshness. Something that is not authentic. Something that is not original. So that is called as banal or banality. Something that lacks originality is called as banality. Fine. So it is not authentic, you can say. Fine. So these are the new words that are there in this essay. So go through these new words before you start reading that essay, so that you can understand the essay better. Yes, there are many more new words also. Maybe you don't use it frequently, so maybe you will find it little difficult. And when you come across such words, please make a note of it. We will discuss about that in the class. So coming to the theme of it. So this is an amusing essay. So as I told you, Gardiner's essays have this touch of humor in them. Fine. So similarly, this is called as an amusing essay. It is an amusing essay because as you read it, you feel, oh, this is so commonly done in our area also. Oh, this even I have experienced. Yes, this is not correct what she is doing. This is not right what he is doing. So something like this, you start, though it is not very, very interesting, you feel like reading it. Some essays are like that. Some essays or some books are like that. You don't want to read that, but as you start reading, they'll just make you read. You can just go through the whole essay very quickly. Yes, this essay is, it can come up to maybe 3 pages, not even 3 pages. You can read it within 10 minutes. So it is such an amusing essay. Amusing because you feel that humor also. You get a smile on your face when you read this essay. That's why it is called as amusing. As I said, it's a very, for me it was very interesting. For you, it may be even more amusing. So author declares that in order to preserve everyone's freedom, it is necessary to curtail everyone's freedom. See what the irony is. In order to preserve everyone's freedom, we need to curtail everyone's freedom. So this is a very ironical situation, very sarcastic, you can say. Okay, so this in this essay, the author talks about the freedom of people. That is freedom of movement, it can be, or freedom of acting, for anything for that matter. So he talks about freedom. So in order to preserve, in order to protect my freedom, others' freedom has to be curtailed. So let us see what and all are the examples he gives and what and all he talks about in this essay. So he points out what constitutes to true liberty. So here freedom, liberty, all these are the terms that are used by the author. Fine. So he talks about true liberty. He tells what is actual freedom, what is that freedom. He redefines freedom, you can say. Fine. So what is it that causes this true liberty is the message given by the author. So this you can consider as the message that is given by the author to the readers. Fine. How do you protect one's freedom is the actual question that he has answered over here. So let us get into the summary of it. This starts in a very amusing way, as I said before. The essay starts with an anecdote of a fat old lady walking down the street in Petrograd. So Petrograd is actually a city in Russia. Fine, it is a city in Russia. Russia, you know, right? It was USSR before, now it is Russia. Russia is very famous now because it has the trending news, it is in trending news, that is the war. Fine. So the author talks about a lady who is walking in Petrograd. Petrograd is supposed to be one of the places which has the thickest traffic. Fine. There is too much of traffic there. Why is the traffic is that people gather over there whenever there will be a strike or anything in Russia. People gather over there for protesting, or maybe something new is being declared. So there people gather in order to declare that. So any important news to be declared, it comes to Petrograd. Fine. So this way it is actually a very prominent circle in our cities and all. You call it as circle and squares, right? So like that you call this as a very important hub wherein important things are discussed or protested or declared or anything like that. So this is Petrograd. So then the essay starts with this, that is the anecdote of a fat old lady walking down the street. So what happens is she is walking in the middle of the road. Fine. That is, people are moving around, vehicles are moving around. She is walking in the middle of the road. So the policeman stops her and asks her, what are you doing? Why are you walking like this? So she says, I am free to do whatever I want. So I have that freedom and so I am walking like this. That means she is worried only about her freedom. But the policeman, he tells, this is not the way to do it. Come to one side. This is the place where vehicles are moving, and he calls her aside. So why does the author take this anecdote? Why does the author give this as an example here? Because he's talking about the freedom of people. Okay. So here, if at all the policeman allows that lady to walk along, that means the other people who are moving around, their freedom will be curtailed. Fine. They have to be stopped from being free in order to allow one person to be free. Suppose everybody else has to be free, then this lady has to be called aside, means her freedom has to be curtailed. So this way the author starts giving the message right from the first sentence of the essay here. So here you can see either the lady has to be let free, curtailing the freedom of the vehicles, or for people who are using the vehicles, their freedom has to be allowed, and this lady's freedom has to be curtail. So this is what is the irony that the author is using over here. So this essay starts with that, and he clarifies that the boundaries of personal liberty is very important. So what is the boundary of a personal liberty? That means everybody is free to do anything, but it is only the personal liberty. Now, who is going to ask you if you just leave your hair open and you walk on the street? Who is going to ask you even if it is hot and you're wearing a jacket which protects you from rain or maybe sun, the cold or anything like that? So nobody is going to ask you, is it? I am free to wear anything, isn't it? So if at all I wear a sari and walk in foreign countries, that is fine, right? Nobody is going to ask me, but you are not supposed to curtail others' freedom. That means the author is talking about personal liberty and he's talking about freedom. That is, he is differentiating what is liberty, what is personal liberty, and what is freedom. So he clarifies the boundaries of this personal freedom there. Sorry, that is personal liberty. He also tells that the struggle for freedom begins when children are very young. Yes, when they are small only the struggle for freedom begins. You also might have experienced, isn't it? When you were small children, you might be fighting for something, isn't it? Maybe you want to go to some classes or anything, or you don't want to go to some classes or anything. Fine. So that time you fight for it. You cry for it. Maybe when it is a small child only, the child wants to go out of the house, but the parents don't allow, thinking about the safety of the child. isn't it? That means the child is not allowed to be free. That is under the control of the parents. But what does the child do? It starts crying. Or maybe the child wants to eat something that has fallen down on the floor. But the parents do not allow that in order to look at the safety of the child or the health of the child, in order to protect the health of the child. So again, the child is not free to do what it wants, isn't it? So that is what the author is telling over here. Fine. The examples what I gave may not be given by the author. It is in a different way he has spoken. I just told this in order to make it clear to you. So it starts from a very young age. That was during childhood when you were not able to walk on your own. But the author is also talking about the adolescence. Fine, you become a teenager, then also you will have to fight. You come to you reach your adolescence, then also you have to fight. So in different stages, the fight is actually different. When you are a toddler, you fight for different things, but when you are at your adolescence, you fight for something different, isn't it? So the way in which you fight is different, the level at which you fight is different, but there is a struggle for anybody each and every day, and that struggle will be freedom. Only for freedom. So that you are struggling in order to make yourself free, or maybe keep yourself free. You are fighting for your freedom. So that is what the author talks over here. So according to Gardiner, sacrifice seems to be the foundation of liberty. So this, in order to have this liberty, there should be sacrifice as the foundation of that. Now let me give you an example. If at all you're talking about a family life. Fine. So many of them might have sacrificed, isn't it? Take your family only, for example. Your parents and you are there. Let us limit our circle to a very smaller one. So your parents might be struggling very hard in order to bring you up. So what and all are the sacrifices they might have done in order to provide you a very good life? Isn't it? In order to provide a very financially stable life for you, that is, in order to protect your freedom, that is, you have to, maybe you have your own expenses, then you have to take your own course, something like that. You have your own choices. In order to make those choices come true, those dreams come true, your parents might have sacrificed so many things, isn't it? Your parents might have sacrificed their sleep. Your parents might have sacrificed their time for that is very much important. Isn't it? They might have sacrificed so many things. Maybe they have come from a village and they have settled down in city, leaving all their family behind, maybe leaving their parents, isn't it? So they might have sacrificed their family also. Fine. If at all, girl is getting married and coming to another house, then also she does a lot of sacrifices. So there are various levels at which people have to sacrifice. And in order to have your own liberty, people have to sacrifice. Now, let me just give you a simpler example. Suppose I want to be financially stable. So what do? I have to sacrifice so many things. I have to sacrifice my family life in order to earn more money. Isn't it? I cannot be sitting at home and at the same time I cannot be earning more money. Yes, of course, people do that by doing some business or anything, but at the same time, whatever you do for your liberty, you need to give some time, and that time will be taken away from somewhere. So you have to dedicate your time over here. If at all you're dedicating your time over here, that means you're taking that time from somewhere else. So that is what the author is talking about. So the author says that in order to have this personal liberty, one or the other way, some or the other sacrifice has to be done. So the sacrifice is the foundation of liberty, is what he says. Then he gives an example of traffic police in a busy junction. So a traffic police there in a very busy junction at some place, and suppose he doesn't stop people from moving around. That is, he cannot just allow everybody to move however he wants, isn't it? Maybe he has to stop few people from moving and he has to allow from one side, isn't it? Suppose the traffic lights are not working, you can see policemen standing there and they are stopping people from one side. Okay, so they give signal to stop and the other side starts moving. So such an example is given by the author there. So one person's freedom has to be curtailed in order to protect the other person's freedom. So here also he brings in freedom. Okay, So yes, you may feel that it is very absurd. It's very weird that the author is talking about this traffic movement. He's talking about one person being stopped, the other person moving, and at the same time the other person will be stopped and in order to make this person move. Yes, it might sound absurd for you, but you just see the logic that the author has used in order to make the concept clear to you. So there are few more examples, such examples given by the author, and that is what makes this essay very interesting. Fine. So coming to the next part of it, yes, as I told you that there is trombone. So this is called as trombone. This is an instrument that can be played. It's a brass instrument which gives out loud sound. Fine, it gives out loud sound. You might have seen this in musical bands or in churches. Fine, in musical bands or churches, you can see this trombone. Okay. Let us come back to essay. Author tells that freedom is a social contract and not personal. So here you can see wherever he is talking about freedom, freedom is concerned to others also. Fine. When it comes to our freedom, it is influenced by other people's freedom also. But when it comes to liberty, it is concerned only with us. So freedom is concerned with the other people's freedom also. My freedom is concerned with other people's freedom also, whereas my personal liberty is concerned only to me. So this is the difference. The author makes it clear here. So he says that freedom is actually a social contract and not personal. I am not the only person who can simply move around freely, isn't it? If at all I am moving around freely, that means I have that liberty to move around freely. But if at all I have freedom, I should be very conscious about the rules and regulations that are going around. So I should be socially very concerned before I start moving around in my own way. Fine. I should be very conscious about what other people are doing. So that is something related to society. So I should be worried about the society. I cannot just go and steal from somewhere and I cannot live like that, isn't it? Because that is, you don't call that as freedom. You call it as a crime. Stealing is a crime because that is concerned with the society. For me, it may be freedom. That is, I can go to anybody's house and I can take it off. But that may be freedom according to me. But that is a crime according to the society. Yes, freedom is concerned with the social contract. It is not personal actually. Fine. So the author also gives an example of playing a trombone. Just imagine early morning, 4 o'clock, 4:30, you get up and start blowing this trombone. What will people do? 1 or 2 days they will tolerate. Next day they'll come. They'll knock the door. Maybe you're playing inside your room or maybe on your terrace. They'll come, knock the door and slap 1 or 2 to you. Isn't it? But at the same time, you go to Himalayas, you sit on the top of the mountain and play there. Who is going to ask you? Nobody, right? That means you should be very conscious about the society. So this example of playing a trombone makes this essay very amusing. You read the way the author has written that. You get a smile on your face. You start feeling like laughing. Fine. So this playing of trombone is a very good example. You cannot be doing whatever you want amidst the people where you live. That means amidst the society. But you can do it alone. When you go to Himalayas, there is nobody to ask you. You can do whatever you want there. That doesn't mean that you can blow it in front of people. It can disturb others. No. It should not curtail others' freedom also. When you blow a trombone on your terrace or at your house, what happens? People who are sleeping, they are disturbed. Their freedom of sleep is disturbed. That is the reason they come and curtail your freedom of playing the trombone. So this is a very good example given by the author. You must read and enjoy this example that is given by the author. So we shall do that in the class. Then Gardiner also says that unfortunately we are quick in identifying the fault of others than our own. Yes, this is very much true, isn't it? Identifying others' faults gives us lot of a kind of enthusiasm in us. It actually inspires us in order to find more and more faults of others. Isn't it? It gives such a thrill. Identifying others' mistakes has been always a thrill in everybody's life. So that we are very quick at identifying others' faults, but identifying our mistakes, it is very difficult. It means we are not ready for change. We are not ready to accept things when it comes to us. So suppose you are identifying somebody else's mistake and the same mistake you are doing, somebody else identifies it, of course, you are gone. That means you are not ready to accept it, you start arguing. So that is what the author talks about over here. So identifying others' faults, it should be possible for us to accept it the same way when it comes back to us. Fine. So this we can talk about karma. Whenever you give something to others, it comes back to you 100 times more. Okay, so here the author gives an example of the people identifying others' mistake more than identifying our mistakes here. Fine, he talks about that also. Then finally, he concludes. There are many more examples that are there. So the important points I have just touched upon. When we discuss in the class, you will get to know, yes, these are the important points to be considered when we are writing the answers. Then finally, he concludes that small matters decide whether we are civilized or uncivilized. This is very much true, isn't it? This point is 100% true. How is that? Small things only, you just feel whether they are important or not, whether they show that whether we are civilized or not. Suppose you go to a hotel, eating may be a very small thing for you, isn't it? Eating may be a very small thing for you, but the way you eat shows that you are civilized or not. Or maybe you are walking in a road, the way you behave with beggars. Suppose somebody comes and begs you, if you want to give, you may give. If not, it's okay, fine. But the way you behave with the beggar, that also shows you are civilized or not. These were the two just simple examples that I gave you. But the author has done it in a wonderful way when he comes to talking about this civilized and uncivilized way of behavior. Fine. Yes, I would request you to go through the essay so that you will understand all the minute details. It's a really wonderful essay. It's a general topic, so you can understand it easily and you can write it. You can fetch good marks also. Fine. This is a very interesting essay. I would want you to go through the essay also, read all the new words also. Any doubt you come across, please make a note of it. We shall be discussing in the physical class. Fine. So I want you to read this amusing essay and you come back to the class prepared. Okay. So this will be a wonderful class when you come prepared. So please read the essay. It comes up to 2 to 3 pages, or at the max maybe 3.5 pages. That's it. Fine. Just go through the essay and come prepared to the class. And please make sure you watch the video so that you can concentrate on the important points and you can understand it better. Fine. So let us wind up the session. Let us meet again in another more interesting topic. So keep learning. Thank you for your time. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.